Hi students, I'm Sonia Saxena and I head the English department at T.I.M.E. Examination time is nearing and I know your preparations are getting intense. You are taking care of all the subjects, even English literature, but English language happens to be a very neglected arena, especially the creative writing. So let's have a look. We are going to today discuss and deconstruct an argumentative essay. Argumentative essays are one of the easiest to write because they have a very definite structure and organization. So first, let us understand what is an argumentative essay. An argumentative essay is a genre of writing that requires a student to investigate, collect, evaluate evidence, establish a position in a very concise manner. Having done away with the definition, let us now deconstruct it further. Let's take two quintessential characters from Hindi films, Rahul and Simran. So Rahul and Simran are having an intense argument. Both have gone and seen the film The Thugs of Hindustan. Rahul completely pans the film. He says The Thugs of Hindustan was an absolutely rubbish film. It had poor screenplay, badly planned action sequences. The actors were reduced to a caricature. The script was all too predictable and the music not noteworthy. Note, Rahul has given solid evidences to support his stand. And that's exactly what the core of an argumentative essay is all about. Whenever you make an argument, see that you back it up with solid. So let us get into the structure of an argumentative essay. When we get into the structure of an argumentative essay, we actually expect the student to write a 5-paragraph essay. The first paragraph obviously is an introduction. Then you have the body 1 paragraph, which is for, body 2 paragraph, which is for, and body 3, which is against or and counter argument. And then you have the conclusion. Now, many of the students, when they write an argumentative essay, they say, why do we need to consider the counter argument? Now, that is extremely necessary because you have to demonstrate your skills that you are able to look at the problem, the argument from all different perspectives. So when you take a counter argument into consideration, that exhibits your skill and your knowledge of the subject. Now let us explore an argumentative essay with a real topic. So our topic for today is why study history. History essentially, as you and I know it, is written by victors and hence it has a tainted perspective. It's the victors who will always write history. And history in the textbooks that you and I know is definitely a political propaganda. There are a lot of things in history that you and I don't know. So let us now start working and brainstorming on the actual content. That is the actual argument, the body. We are going to thresh out the body first. So let us take an argument for. So I have decided to take the stance that yes, history should be taught in schools. To make my argument more powerful, I will take a quote from Winston Churchill. We are doomed to repeat history unless we know it. So let us explore this. We are doomed to repeat history unless we know it. So let's come closer home. Let's talk about the partition that happened between India and Pakistan. And what a bloody partition was. On both sides, both India and Pakistan, there was mass migration. There was murder, there was carnage, there was rape. And what do we see? That there were about 10 million people who were in exodus and about 1 million people died. So you ask me, yes, that was the history of the past. What impact does it have on the present? Let's cut to Kashmir. As we know that India and Pakistan are fighting over Kashmir like two dogs over a bone. So start thinking, what if Kashmir were partitioned? Kashmir happens to be a flashpoint in this discussion. So what if Kashmir were partitioned? What would be the consequences? Haven't we learned our lesson? So we are doomed to repeat our history unless we know it. Now, let us take the second argument. The second argument why we should study history. My argument is history gives us a sense of identity. My sense of identity as an Indian comes from history because it ties me to the roots of my country. And what do we observe today? That most people today, especially the generation of today, does not have a strong sense of Indianness. And hence they become victims of political propaganda. What do politicians do? The politicians come and play the communal card. They come and play the secular card. And unless and until you have a strong sense of identity as an Indian, you will become a mere puppet in their hands. So these are the two arguments that I have given to support my stance on why study history with examples. Now we shall explore the other side because we have to, of course, take into account and counter. Now we are ready to explore the counter argument. So the question to be asked is history really useful? Yeah, after all, if you look at it today, the world today needs doctors because doctors perform heart transplants. We need engineers because engineers build bridges and, of course, enhance technology. So the role of the historian becomes a little nebulous. And after all, do today's problems mirror really those in the past? So how do we counter this counter argument? So let's take this. Do today's problems mirror those in the past? So what are today's problems about? Today's problems are about climate change. That accounts for about 48%, climate change and destruction of nature. Large-scale wars and genocides, 38%. So what is this large-scale wars and genocides? That's nothing but history. So today's problems mirror those in the past. This evidence negates the statement. Poverty is 29%, religious conflicts 29%. This bit of evidence also negates do today's problems mirror those in the past. So getting hard statistical evidence helps you to essentially prove the counter argument wrong. As you just saw, we have already threshed out the body, the core content of our essay. We have two arguments for and one argument against. So what remains? The introduction and the conclusion. The introduction basically provides the background score, and we have to make the introduction very powerful because we need to grab the reader's eyeballs from the first sentence. It's very much like an opening statement that a lawyer makes in a trial. So how do we make an introduction powerful? We traditionally use the technique of hook. So there are different types of hooks we need to essentially grab the reader's interest. One is the quotation hook. Let's examine this quote. We do not make history, we are made by it, by Martin Luther King Jr. We do not make history, we are made by it. So clearly establishing your position that yes, history shapes peoples and societies. The second hook that you can use is a statistic hook. But be careful, a word of caution. It has to be from a verified source. For example, if you are arguing against making a case for smoking to be banned in public places, you can give the statistic that over 5 million people die of cancer of the lungs, which is more than people dying out of AIDS, malaria, and other epidemics. Doesn't that grab the eyeballs? It does. So if you decide to use a statistic, but see that it is taken from a verified source. Another hook that we can use is a rhetorical question. Does history repeat itself? Does this strike a chord? We used a similar statement by Winston Churchill. We are doomed to repeat it unless we know it in our body. Yes, this makes your introduction all the more powerful. Another hook that you can use is a personal anecdote. But the personal anecdote has to be in sync with the topic involved. So this hook is essentially something a little more complex. So I would advise you to either begin with a quote, use a statistic, or a rhetorical question. Now, the introduction, the last statement in the introductory para is the thesis statement. So what does the thesis statement do? It just merely establishes your stance, your position on an issue. So let us now craft our conclusion. So what is conclusion all about? Conclusion is all about re-emphasizing your main point. It's about retaliating a call to action. So how do you do that? We can say, yes, history should be taught in schools, but maybe not in the traditional way it is being taught. It should become a subject of debate and discourse to make it interesting for the students. You can also speculate on the future that if history were not taught, if we were not aware of the history of our country, it could lead to consequences, mayhem, wars. So history, it has to be taught in school. So you have finished your re-emphasis and retaliation. However, you should avoid raising new claims in your conclusion. So let's again capture the essence of the essay. In your introduction, you tell them what you are going to tell them. Body, tell them. Conclusion, tell them what you told them. So conclusion is nothing but a summation, a roundup of your argument. It is a re-emphasis, a retaliation. All right. So this is what an argumentative essay really looks like. So let's now examine the time factor. You are accorded 30 minutes to write an argumentative essay. So I would advise you to take the first 15 minutes in threshing out your body paragraphs, 5 minutes for the introduction and 5 minutes for the conclusion. So that is 25 minutes and 5 minutes for a quick run through to see whether you have got your act together. So 30 minutes will be the total time you will take to craft this essay. So what are you waiting for? Take that pen to paper and nail down your argumentative